Do you have,
The same
Mandy?
done with horses too.
Mm.
Actually, Andre, you have hit everything that I have been writing down. So as you're asking them, I'm just, oh, okay, take that off.
Yeah.
Next. You're
Yeah.
just, so absolutely keep going, Andre.
No, I think there's a lot there. Like, I'll need to process that. I think that was very dense. Like, you went pretty expansive, which is really good.
Yeah. So I have something to add. So I was talking about how big the community of beings were here during that rise of Lemuria. When the next fall of Lemuria represented the next timeline genocide, which was basically, represented, they were done, and then the next expression of them that came back after the creational event again would be the Atlanteans. Then the Atlanteans realized they were just the Lemurians in another expression. So that leap right there. So when Lemuria fell, this is where there would have been a mass exodus of whale skin suits off of Earth ahead of time via Earth's order to the whales to bring those song lines to tens of thousands of other worlds. So ahead of the attack, so the big de-evolutionary forces coming here at that time is where they're remote assassinating 500 billion worlds in one day. They then flip and become the dark. And that's why Earth made sure that the whales left before the flip. So when the flip was done, they stopped the invasion, and they became the dark. The whales seeded in all the other places the songs that brought new life, that would be the counter invasion that brought Earth back into peace. That makes sense to you?
Yeah. So they could predict. I'm not sure how to predict it, or like to offer it, but they could sense the polarity of a planet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And ahead of time they could sense the polarity, and it would be more conducive to whales wanting to be in that, depending on the polarity of the civilization and the planet. Is that correct?
Right. So the whales that left Earth and seeded into tens of millions of other third density and fourth density world that were not a part of the greater political forced evolutionary process. So the forced evolutionary systems that had 500 billions of their colonial worlds wiped out realized they could never win via technological invasion. This is where they, with what remaining worlds they had after, they had that all wiped out, they created rapid evolutionary DNA skin suits and began using false light technology to force incarnate or reincarnate super high volumes of beings in their astral worlds and their physical worlds, and then directly transfer them to Earth's astral worlds and try to out-incarnate anything here on the surface. That's ultimately how Lemuria fell, out-incarnating. Something else outbred it faster. And it didn't matter if you had an ascended master from world blah, blah, blah as a krill. It didn't matter. He was here. As long as he was here, was DNA lineage allowed you and bring your other soul family, and it was open gates then.
Yeah. Like the incarnation war is a topic to explore at some point, but my feeling for that, it was a lot like the metaphor in the movie Aliens, when they go to that planet to try and rescue the people. They realise they're all gone, and the Marines go into the base and all gung-ho, and they get their butts kicked, and then they regroup in this place, and they try and set up a fort, and they think from their perspective they've locked it all down, but then they forget the air vents, and the air vents are very smart, and they came through the air vents, and it was like there was a wide open gap that they weren't able to perceive that left them vulnerable. Yeah, that metaphor is what I feel about the incarnation grid, because it's a level of technology that
Good,
you're aware of.
good analogy. Very, very good analogy. So as Earth began to be out incarnated on, the whales were leaving, and new skin suits came in different service order to Earth to maintain the functions that the whales who were leaving, something else would take over its job.
Yeah.
This is where Earth took back a lot of power, and then for 2 million years didn't have anything to do with the forced evolutionary systems or regular evolutionary systems. It took full control back through that mass incarnation. So it basically said, all right, if you're all going to mass incarnate in me, I'm directly in your process. And if you can't be in heart space, das Boot, you're out.
But like what you're saying, like, say I was a Lemurian at that time and things don't add up, like something's not right, and there's no awareness of what's going on, but you're seeing like the mass leaving the whales, and it would have just been a real variable that didn't make sense, the reverse engineering
Yes.
of what's going on. And I really feel like as soon as you said the incarnation war, it was like, holy crap, that's obviously what it is, but how would you know it if you're in it? And on the recipient of this weaponized sort of thing that you didn't even perceive that could be weaponized, the whole civilization was vulnerable, and it was just deteriorating over time, and it was just not getting better, and it wouldn't have added up. I can really feel that. So
Yep. So what it was like on the surface. So you have a book that tells you all the species that living on Earth. Well, imagine that book adding 1,000 pages or 5,000 pages every day, and you barely know anything about them, their growth structure, et cetera, et cetera. And then you could have a Tyrannosaurus Rex in 20 years that never been on the world, and somebody's off vacationing, and then some part run, rah, it comes out of the forest.
no wonder people have soul trauma,
Yeah, because that's what the invading species brought in their DNA light body, was this being, and since it had a DNA relation and there was a womb chakra there, they could spend a few hundred years in the womb chakra and have somebody on the surface who was, let's just say, a krill, a lifetime after lifetime, working in the dream world to create the DNA skin suit of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. So a whole bunch of people could come in and be it and wreak havoc. And have a life here, a 7-colored T-Rex in Lemuria.
Like, yeah, didn't add up at all. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah, what is going on? Thousands and thousands of new species could show up every day. Because there's 200 womb chakras all over the world.
Yeah.
They could go amoeba to fully created being in months.
That sort of reminds me of Hellboy, the movie Hellboy, where they had these creatures that would, and they would.
So is that the second one or the first one?
The first one. That's where the old guy is old that does the portal, and then he's got the new guy in present time, and they go out and they find this creature, but like they kill it, but it births two from a death, and the life essence from that creature goes out and populates a spawning creature. So every time you kill it, it multiplies.
Oh, yeah, I remember that thing now, yes.
Yeah, it's like they come from nowhere, like that sort of, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they don't actually come from nowhere. They come in from the astral world of some other place that has been bloated with birthing life, forced incarnations, and there's technology that directly transfers everything in the astral world to Earth's astral world.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, they have a big die-off and everything, all right, you're all moving.
I do have sort of two tangent questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it seems like for a theme that the whales need oceans to operate in on a planet. Is that common? Like, is there much water out there on other planets?
There's plenty of water worlds.
Yeah.
So a whale, because it's still base fourth density on a third density world, can adjust its body and phase in and out. So it can be in liquid methane, it can be in a variety of things in a different energy body form. It just adjusts its skin suit to what it needs from that place.
Yeah.
So they can also fly in the air too. It all depends on the rules of the reality.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is all technology you say is in our skin suit. It's just
yes, that is all.
It's just related to us in the 3D reality that we're in. That we don't get a lot of our skills that are dormant in this unity reality that we all find ourselves in.
Yeah, they have to be self-activated, self-spawned, illuminated, self-masters. Pretty much.
But it's as sort of like our planet and solar system re-enter light space, it's more conducive to that returning. Is that something you sort of offered? My interpretation. Hey, you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Did you?
All right, what happened?
I've pretty much got 2 questions left, I think, and they shouldn't be too big. But I just sort of said that Earth in relation to the density of space our solar system's in,
okay,
relative to the density that we find ourselves in. It is what it is at the moment, but it's like in this disunity reality we find ourselves in. But the potential is conducive to us regaining the sort of that skin suit technology. That's sort of what I was wanting to offer.
Yes, that is very conducive to that. As we are moving through the galactic central plane, we are in seven color time, galactic time. We are moving into a part of a galactic cluster that is 8 colors of time. So it is denser at the galactic level. That means everything is scaled differently. A third density world isn't a third density world in 8 color time. It's a different scale. And as we go through the galactic central plane, what cannot exist on the other side goes back to 7 color time to redo its process. What continues on is the one that can adjust to the new scale of 8 color time, having its own new frequency of 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th density, and a redefinition of the celestial density process. So the mantle of responsibility and awareness is firmly and squarely in the hands of the individual being, whether it's the most micro or macro of organism.
Yeah. Yeah. Self-mastery and respect for the 7 future generations. And
yeah, all that stuff.
I got a tangent question related to the present time. In Australia, there's an actual effort to police people actually having interaction with whales, like surfers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a purpose to that, like us having a disconnect? Or it's protecting the whales from stupid...
It's protecting the whales from the idiots.
Yeah.
Okay? More than it is preventing the people that are going to have a whale experience. Does it stop whale communicators making firm companionships and relationships with a whale pod to become a group of healers who will swim into an area and you have 40, 50 people in the water that suddenly get healed? Yeah, it kind of stops that. But they do that with dolphins now. They do that with autistic children and dolphins and people that have broken arms and legs and coming from the military, and they go through great healings. There are all sorts of ocean species that can be retasked to do that process.
I want to actually offer you a personal experience with whales I've had.
Okay.
And the date is August 2011. So it's just after June 2011, all right? My mum had cataract surgery, so I took her the first industrial age recording where I put the whales and you did the whaling tour. I actually took her down to that region for a drive, and we went to this beach called Goolwa in August that year, I think it was late August, and we went all along the coast there, and the Victor Harbour, like Goolwa Coast near Adelaide, is all very famous for whaling, and like the pods come up there from the Antarctic to berth and stuff. And I remember like we went to this lookout and we could see some whales from Goolwa, and it was like, wow. And it was like maybe a few 100 feet walk down a hill and onto the big beach. And getting onto the beach near the water, the whales, they were humpback whales, and they were breaching, like jumping out of the water like a mile or two offshore, just as we came down there. Yeah, so I mean, that question about policing, it's like, you know, you're talking about whale triggers and stuff. It was like, you know, they knew I was there, you know. It was like, they were doing this dance in water, so it was like, I remember that, and I was like, wow. You know, you talk about true love beings and you witness this, and it's like amazing.
Right. You get to witness it for your own self. That's a cool story. That's a really, really cool story. And there's so many people that have, you know, their own individuated story with, you know, story with the whales, you know, on a boat, and all of a sudden one comes up underneath and, you know, just rolls over and starts singing at them for an hour. That happens all the time.
The reason why I say that time is because there's another question at some point I want to ask you about the 2011-2014 relationship, because no one's really talked about that with you yet. So the June 2011, you talked about the timeline sort of condensing into what we have now, where it was a mess for a long time. Did the whales have anything to do with that at all?
All right, so...
is that a biggie?
No. It's a context question. A good one. So let's bring back up the concepts of the Dragon Triangle and Bermuda Triangle.
Okay.
So you have two areas where we'll just call the highest level of space-time reality rift exists there. And there is a cork or a Band-Aid over one or the other. You can use whatever metaphor you want. And that cork and Band-Aid has been there, the Dragon Triangle has been there 19 million years, and the one in Bermuda Triangle has been there 13 million years, but it was reopened by the Philadelphia experiment.
Okay.
And then the one in the Dragon Triangle was also reopened in World War II. And then they had to be recorked and repatched. So the whales play a vital part in making sure that the rifts stay closed when they reopen, and many of them sacrifice themselves to make sure that could happen by becoming the living embodiment of the cork. By going into the rift, using all of their song, all their life force up, connected to the celestial mind to close and repatch the rift, bring in the weaver spirits, etc., etc. So, on a deeper scale, the rifts created what's known as rift wars, where other species learned how to discover what frequency of time the rifts were created but weren't widely known about or understood. And they could create micro rifts inside there that could bring in unique forms of destructive life into the oceans and cause an oceanic breakdown of the microorganisms. And oftentimes the whales were targeted right away by things like that, and there needed to be ways to repopulate the whale communities right away. So there were, when the rift wars were going on, there were these let's just say whale cloning chambers where they can rebreed billions of them if they had to in a very fast process, because the whales had offered their light frequency DNA as a part of Earth, to be fully uploaded into Earth's Akashic record, meaning that species of whale is in the Earth extinction record, active record, and a surface record and astral record, meaning that skin suit as a soul family lineage could be psychically transferred to any world, whether it was blank Akashic record or brand or super advanced somewhere else.
Yeah, one of my sort of ending sort of questions was sort of related to the future of Wales, like once Unity Dreamtime event sort of has happened, and my perception is that like Earth will sort of return to its role of seeding the universe, like Wales will probably be an aspect of that.
Yes, well, Earth has been still seeding the universe, just not at its full capacity.
Okay.
So, Earth is fully a part of the galactic ascension machine, meaning, it may not be doing exactly what it wants to do in 100%, fully sovereign free will, but it is still doing its purpose, just again, at a smaller scale. And then sometimes at a very large scale, by allowing trillions of beings to be incarnated here and then suddenly taking control and then allowing other things to go through. And, billions and billions of life can come in and out in a day, plus the destructions, so on and so forth. All in an attempt to do what? Keep a surface lineage so that, you can always be incarnating here. Because this was the technological, paradise. With a celestial being that can function with everyone.
Yeah, I do have two more questions, and that's probably it. One thing I want to bring up is what you said about the, the sacrificing beings to block rifts and be the cork. It brings up what Mandy asked about the trees in Greece, like how trees were planted in Greece relative to her business partner, and the trees were put to plug the time rifts on certain locations on the land.
You know what I found was interesting, and I get them mixed up, so I'm not too sure which one is which, but it's either the fig tree that pulls energy from you and it's the olive tree that gives energy to you. And
the olive that gives, I believe.
Because one of the trees is like in Greece, and I didn't believe this till I saw pictures from like Strato's father, who showed me these pictures that they have up next to the trees, and the elderly or children are not allowed to stay under these trees because they literally pull the energy from them, and especially for the elderly.
Yes, because there are certain trees that were planted there on purpose to hold back time-traveling frequencies.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Because there were damages and rifts to the reality, so they were able to plant trees that had spiritual contracts with angelic beings to heal a rift in an area.
Wow.
Sometimes they didn't have the availability of technology, just had to put a god being in a seed and please hold the rift shut. Please, for 1,000 years, please.
There's another Andrew Wow moment.
Yeah, then we'll make sure the people venerate you. Please hold it shut.
How many generations later do they forget that wisdom?
Pretty fast.
Yeah. But the tree does an amazing job, and the people appreciate it, but they forget it because they're in comfort.
And then you just end up a superstition or a myth in the next generations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty common. It's not common, but it's like the theme of purpose for preventing time rifts in certain portal sort of locations is like a being of, certain...
True service.
Yeah. Fascinating. Yeah. The other one thing I want to sort of offer is something I said to you in relation to what's happening, seems to be on the Australian East Coast with cruise ships. and how there's these mass gastro sort of issues with, say, people on ships getting a lot of gastro, like illnesses by going on ships, which are blamed on the food, but it's actually more likely going to like very activated spots on the earth in the sea. So that the people and the passengers sue the ship liner, but it's more likely that the ships are going to a real activated point on the earth, maybe a womb chakra and stuff. Are these sort of the places that you're talking are similar to like the ancestral sort of places where the whales might go, or they're separate?
Both. So you have many layers there in your statement.
Yeah.
So addressing the cruise liners having gastro issues, that's worldwide. That exists as a fundamental issue with how rapidly the bubbles of reality are changing and these cruise liners are going in. So it does relate to the ocean, not necessarily to the womb chakras themselves.
Okay.
It all depends, where the boat is going. So another side of it, there has been an attempt to kill off certain types of bacteria on boats. So certain types of beings can't be on them. So there are certain micro life organisms that are very, how do I put this? They easily become observers and can be remote controlled by something else. Not just the fly on the wall thing, but like the microorganism in the room that can remote experience you. So they needed to clear those out for the ocean, for the military ships. And that has been retasked for cruise liners also. So when you put that in maths, there are people that rapidly respond to it because their organisms that come with them are dying off. And then you have scalar weapons that are targeting whole ocean areas that rapidly create a growth of internal organisms, of the microorganisms that are then creating these, once again, rapid growths and people getting sick.
Yeah, okay.
Because they're trying to treat those ships too much as a hermetically sealed environment. But the hermetically sealed environment that's getting people from all over the world, bringing all of their sicknesses and diseases there too. So they're floating petri dishes.
Okay. Yeah, it was a bit of a stretch, but it was like, for me, it was a pattern opportunity, and just to see if this was linked up, because like what I feel is people are very reluctant to heal, and there's a lot going on in people on many respects, and like stomach issues and things like that are like a hard lesson for not healing sort of potential, like the shadowing and the gut and all those sort of things. So when there's like consistent things going on, for me it could be energy related, and all the layers that you offered. So I'm not trying to link up something that's not related. I was just wondering if there was something there in relation to what's going on.
That was a good pattern. That was a very good pattern question. Yeah. Very, very good question, because it allowed me to reveal some of the other layers of knowing there, which is that ocean-going vessels are these floating petri dishes that are purposely attracting the volume of people there, so experiments can be done on them through the food. It's not all ships, because once you book a ticket, they know the types of predictive algorithms you're going to meet on that ship. They kind of know. And so they know when certain groups of people are coming together, there could be soul family interaction. Well, they want to be there to scan if there's new pheromones that are coming up. If somebody's activating a skill, watching them through precognitive process or through the microorganisms that were there before they got cleared out.
Plus also bringing dirty energy hygiene to a...
That goes to understand, all the other stuff that comes with that. Plus the ghost that exists on the oceans too. And then all it takes is one person that's ancestrally haunted that was, a slaughterer of, 10 trillion tuna, and you go over an area and the ancestral, I really responded, and everyone the boat gets haunted.
It's very complex. It's nothing to fear, it's just like, it's fascinating. Like this really,
old ship captains knew this. This just wasn't brought into the modern society. The old ship captains knew about, certain areas you didn't bring an Italian guy, or certain areas you didn't bring, XX or X.
Yeah, and I forget where you've offered it. It may not be a public one at the moment, but one of the things you look for when you do readings of consciousness explorers is if they've been a ship captain in the past. So.
Yep.
But yeah, thanks for that. I think that's all. You got anything, Mandy, or you good?
Wow. That was just brilliant.
Thank you.
And it was interesting because at the beginning of formulating some of my questions, it was taking all of these images and trying to put it into a point form question. And then Andre took that and expanded it into its fullness. And I'm so grateful, Andre.
Well, I've had some practice working with Andrew in real time. That's the thing.
That's fun.
To be able to perceive it all and what angles haven't been explored.
Andre, if you want to drive me on a topic, put bullet points in front of me. That's how you tame the infinite consciousness. Bullet points.
I like to ride the bucking bull, though.
You like to ride the bucking bull?
But let's see where it goes. Like what gets revealed and operate it in real time. It's because I don't do it with. The key with me is that I'm not doing it for me. I'm perceiving what is out there and what might not be, and go with what's. Let's go down the unexplored avenue.
Okay.
So
well, it's still the unexplored avenue with bullet points. I'm still going to say what I say. I already know that.
What was really interesting for me was the first time I had my experience of songs from a whale where it really touched my heart, and then I felt this expansion that I'd never really experienced as within human relationships, whether that be with your parents or even with your own child, and the way I had experienced that was actually in the teachings of a water drum, and it was in how to carry the heart song through a water drum. And that water drum was used by an elder in what would be called in a lodge or in a sweat lodge. And when a water drum is used in a sweat lodge, it actually brings you into the dream time with the whales, but through your heart, through the vibration of the heart.
Wow.
And that was my experience, although there's many other teachings that go into a water drum and why for a woman can carry a heart song to help calm the waters of Mother Earth, and sing the songs of the whales. Not that men can't. It's just that easier for a woman to first connect through the heart in order to vibrate that out, like the essence of it, so that others can start to understand and feel that vibration that would call them to come into that frequency.
Yep. That's beautiful.
It'll be interesting with the whales around you now. What time's a good time of year to have the whales around your island?
There's various times, because there's various kinds that come in, whether it's the humpbacks and the killer whales that come in, and so one of the biggest times is October, November, because the humpbacks are actually birthing at that time. And there's interesting events that happen because the killer whales come in, and it's a bit of a competition between the two species when they're giving birth. But they'll come in by the hundreds.
Yeah, they suddenly move in.
Yeah.
Where's the fast food? Honey's pregnant. I gotta bring her something to eat quick. All the kids are born. The kids are hungry. Here, fishy.
Hence why Andrew really needs to eat after all this energy.
Yes.
Well, it's been going 5 or 6 hours, so you're doing well.
I'm making hash browns. So whales are an interesting species. So we didn't talk about dolphins.
Well, I was actually gonna ask a question, and this is a question I need to teach Mandy to ask.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, based on everything I've asked, is there anything else that you can add from what you perceive that hasn't been covered in this topic?
Yes, there's a variety of things. When it comes to whale specific, they have a much higher percentage chance of bringing in divinity path beings in as birth, because they can spend in astral song decades figuring out what they're going to be birthing. So that's a layer there.
Source streams as well?
Anything you can think, anything they can dream of.
Yeah.
That's in the lineage.
Yeah.
Are they taking resumes? You could say that. Because they're trying to find the best of the best of the best.
Yeah. So is there a way of like whale incarnation is linked up to the incarnation grid of the Earth?
It is.
Or is it separate to like human skin suit incarnation?
It is. There's a birth order and a death order every day. In each species that's gotten a certain amount of beings that's living here, has a certain amount of stuff that can live and die each day. That includes the birth of the fresh birth of new fetuses. Hold on 1 second. So when there's a fresh birth of new fetuses for a lineage, it changes the soul family potentials. And that's where the filtration system stops trying to let super powerful spirits through. The whales have just figured out how to hide inside their womb a super powerful spirit.
Okay.
They just out the camouflaging technology.
So they got a lot of skills to outsmart whoever. They pretty much can do whatever they want.
Not what
To some degree.
Yeah. they don't operate with impunity at all.
No.
Yeah.
But I guess the question related to incarnation I was going to ask is, like, you talk about what I'll offer as proxy incarnation, where, say, many of the powerful beings actually incarnate on, say, lower density planets to get to Earth, to get through the grid system here. Would there be a pathway where someone who is like a source stream or a divinity path being might actually get into Earth via a whale and then choose to come into human skin suit as a...
Yes.
I call it incarnation proxy to avoid the system. You know, there's a lot of effort to navigate around the grid, like the incarnation grid filtering. So.
Yes. So exactly, that would exactly happen where something could, something that isn't supposed to be on the surface could get through that way, pass on, and then take on a human DNA skin suit. Yes. And that stuff goes on even to this day.
I'm sure it does, mate, because it's been pretty locked tight for a while. So.
So, another thing on whale, let me describe this.
I've got a question related to the astral as well, obviously.
All right, so the whale pieces parts were used for alchemical purposes. So the fluid, the whale cranial fluid, certain stuff like that was used to rapidly advance in a very negative way wizards and sorcerers. So, you're taking, it's like, getting the essence of bear medicine, they do the same thing with whale. Just stealing.
Any particular species at all?
All of them. They all had their own special, particular power that they wanted to take and have, so oftentimes the sorcerers were trying to get as many, that they could. They're called fetishes. Trapping a spirit in something, and then eventually bringing the spirit as part of your domination system, meaning it's always in service to you.
I know some of their parts are used for perfume as well, or have been. Is that a case?
Say that again?
They've been used for, like, perfumes as a oil related to perfumes and making pheromones and stuff.
They're poop. Actually, look it up. Whale sperm and whale poop is used for perfumes and makeups, the most highest end, because of what it contains in it. And yes, there are whole industries that search the surface of the ocean for whale poop and sperm. Did you know that, Mandy?
Actually, I didn't. I know there's medicinal purposes for the whale feces.
Just to switch back on that link that I sort of worked out. So the whales actually can, like, they obviously, like, navigate around the poles, like the North Pole and the South Pole. Do they connect into the ancestral, like, aspects of the North Pole and the astral of the future generations in the Southern Hemisphere?
Yes. That's where they go to the north. They are speaking to their ancestors, and when they're going to the south, they're taking their ancestral wisdom to find the new beings that are coming in. And oftentimes, a whale could have 5 or 10,000 beings inside its womb and bring it to an ancestral spawning ground, delivering souls through the water directly to an astral city, water city.
And have we touched on the whales in Inner Earth at all?
No. There are inner Earth oceans that operate whales that aren't on the surface of this world anymore, that have different song lines that affect different densities. There are the whales that are in extinction. They're in the space between atoms in their own infinite oceanic inner Earth space, that are still continuing on. They're just continuing on in their own private dream. That's until they're ready to come back to the surface and make ancestral lineages again. So, what else do you want to know about inner Earth whales?
What sort of volume of life is there?
In the inner Earth right now?
Yeah. Well,
About
and there has
50.
been as well.
About 50 billion.
Wow.
But they're in energy form.
Yeah.
They're not physical. So they exist in the space between atoms.
That's
but they're still
right.
considered
Yeah.
sentient beings.
Yeah. And say, like DNA technology that's been eliminated through the hunting of sort of pods and stuff like that. Does Earth have that skin suit like records in her ready to reanimate at some future point potentially?
Yes. So when a being goes into extinction, what it means, it goes into Earth's akashic record as a living, breathing, sentient expression of something that is no longer living on the surface. And if some future being that has ancestral relations wants to come to this world and say, hey, whatever I have connection to is in extinction, Earth will ask that being if it wants to come out of extinction and incarnate into another skin suit to allow that soul family to be on Earth.
Yeah, so there's no such thing as extinction, basically.
Right. Extinction just means you're in wait for some other soul family to stop by and go, hey, is this world any good?
Yeah. Or plus also the aspect of the structure that's on that planet is not allowing it anymore as well, so there's an
Right.
effort to suppress. Fascinating.
A big effort to suppress in a lot of areas, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for
So
that.
dolphins. So they are a completely different breed. They have similar functions of whales, but they treat the environment much more differently. 1 second, let me get my water.
I just reshared the image I took. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's the one I put in the whales in the 780 to 200 BC.
Ooh, nice.
I've got another one with Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman, you did self-disclosure on that. from the Polynesian islands and stuff, I think.
Yep.
Oh, nice. Dolphins.
Actually, in the stream read, I did one because you did dolphins as well. The dogs of the sea with dogs.
Mm.
So that's in the stream read that I did as well, Mandy.
So next I'm going to read the stream of the animal medicine that's coming in and out right now. There's been a layer of aggressive energy over our world stemming from Obama going and visiting Israel. What does that really mean? It just means the players are on a new chessboard, and that new chessboard is something different. Loyalty of the dog, mana of the dolphin, stamina of the moose. That is the energy that is here in the now. The dog is loyal. The dog is something that can sense danger from far away. The dog knows the emotion that goes over each and every person's idea. The dog can look at you cross-eyed and know your shadow. The dolphin breathes deep, dives deep under the water, goes deep finding spirit herring, grits his herring, dives up, pops out the top of the water, sun upon his skin, back into the water. Repeating this over and over again. up, down, deep down the dolphin goes down into the universal depths of the ocean, speaking to the Earth Mother through clicks and clacks and sounds of the echolocator inside. The dog and the dolphin are man's best friends. The dolphin is the dog of the sea, loyalty to man, but it is also the shaman of the sea, and the dog is the shaman of the land. When dog and dolphin unite in this world, great things will be done. Friend Moose comes to the forefront, with his great rack reminding us of his power. The moose is that of the stamina, reminding us for every journey you must endure, for every battle you must take time to regain your strength, because it is truly the stamina to endure. The moose is telling the dog and the dolphin to be loyal and constantly give love in return. You must have love within yourself. Love within yourself to love others, because that is the nature of stamina, is the concept of stamina. And the dolphin knows this well, and the dog knows this well.
So a dolphin can be a tutor to any surface or subsurface or hollow earth being. So it comes in with very, very high spiritual contracts to be a tutor to young beings, a teacher to beings, and a healing teacher to others. It is a way to mass inform new lineages to a world of how the world works. Kind of like that. I don't want to go as expansive as I did with whale on dolphin right at this exact moment, but to give a setup, they have similar historical processes starting. So a whale is a way to macro control a big section of ocean with its sound. A dolphin is microsurgery to an environment or to beings in an environment. That's their main difference. Now, they're also a vital part of the predator-prey network because they do predate on fish, but all the fish that they're predating on are in a fully accepted predator-prey network that is a full exchange of energy upon death. So there are no negative deaths when dealing with a dolphin. They will hunt sharks. They will even hunt killer whales. They will hunt anything that begins to disrupt their harmony of predator-prey network. They can rapidly become offensive psychic surgeon tools to, let's just say, convince somebody not to be in an area in their own dolphin-y way. When the Dreamtime realities became invaded in the Cuban area, dolphins were one of the first things that were Dreamtime affected. Many of them were not prepared for these dark sorcerers to suddenly have tidal control of the water and be able to just really destroy the dolphin community and their dream world and their dream connection. That decimated them, and it took them nearly a generation for them to recover. But once they did, they moved to the outer seas and began waiting for those sorcerers to be on boats and started, picking them off one by one by one.
So this was like the pirates sort of invading Puerto Rico sort of Dreamtime stuff? To take over the Americas, like from the Dreamtime, negative Dreamtime invasion sort of anchor point. Yeah.
So you can see the dolphin as the Dreamtime warrior for defend warrior, fabric defense warrior. Very loyal being. It's, it's service to the earth. You can consider them, the commandos, the psychic commando strike teams.
But they're also healers as well.
Yes. So a lot of light ships that come here with hundreds of beings inside them will have a copy of Earth Dolphin, whatever time frame it is, and they can incarnate and they can holographically create the thing and then put their soul spark or the being in it. And they're Dolphin on the Earth, and they can go and do missions that the reality wouldn't normally allow, but the Dolphin skin suit allows many rules to be broken for a variety of reasons. So a Dolphin is one of those beings that can use 100% of its brain power, meaning every aspect of its DNA in the seen and the unseen layer is working towards a singular focus. And when a single being is in singular focus of self-mastery and non-hierarchical order, they can create, how do I put this? A frequency in the background of all water, because they're doing microsurgery. So there can be weaving with their microsurgery strings of water that have some of the most highest density consciousness thoughts in them. Then dolphins can grow into big packs, few hundred, 300, 400, sometimes even more, and in some cases, several 100,000 in the old days. And they could begin coming to the surface and sing to the clouds and instantly program the clouds with a collective consciousness process, which could unravel the plans of others of the surface. They could affect weather patterns. What else?
Whales and dolphins can restructure water. That's what you sort of said with whales.
Yeah.
So dolphins can do it in a more local sort of reality space where like whales can do a larger scale.
Larger scale, yes. Macro scale. There are freshwater dolphins, though we don't really know about them in our time now. And there were dolphins that can go from saltwater, brackish water, and those were the shark hunters. That was during the shark-dolphin wars, where, Lemuria fell, and, and the realities fell, and just everything was mass incarnating until it was a mass predator-prey world. And dolphin and shark were the two common skin suits that a lot of the invading species would come to use for whatever reason, or it was being used by those that were still trying to stay here. So you had this process where things would come in as dolphins and go into the brackish waters and hunt the sharks who would live in the freshwater or hide in the freshwater for their first 3 or 4 years of life before they went out to the ocean to become bigger predators, which created, how do I put it, new predator-prey relationships to the freshwater areas that allowed dolphin shark skin suits to transfer over and be in human skin suits. And another way of getting predators out of the water and into human skin suits, as they began to cull the souls out of skin suits, try to bring the reality back under control and have humans breed.
Is there like any hierarchy in the dolphin sort of community, like a
like a UN?
But also royalty and stuff?
Because Earth is a hierarchical order, currently, there is some hierarchical pecking structure within them. But it's really about those coming into their power and the elders and the youngings support those coming into their power. Dolphins innately know once they reach their post-pubescent times, they've got a fuse where they're super powerful, and as soon as they're done with that, they lose 70 to 80% of their power and then service the ones that are coming back to their full power and keep passing on the knowledge, the wisdom, the mission, so on.
It's more of a cultural thing than hierarchy in the structure, the community. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long do they live?
They can live 150 years, but they don't now because of all the poisons and shit in the water.
And why?
When there was a lot more life in the water, they could selectively choose prey that would extend their life. Example, you could have a dolphin that has a spiritual contract with a fish to be eaten 10,000 times by that one dude to end karma between them. And a dolphin will eat that thing the 10,000th time, and the amount of energy that's exchanged could extend its life force many years. Because they're servicing the earth by resolving that contract.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't ask that question with whales, but what sort of age time frame can they live?
Whales?
It's a very broad question, obviously, but,
Well, humpback whales, 7,500 years to 350 years. There's nobody that really knows how much a whale can live in science today. It's all theory and all guessing. But in general, if it's a filter-feeding whale, one that fills on plankton and krill and stuff like that, generally about 200 years if it's high-quality oceans, not polluted, and the life force of the krill is actually allowed to be affected by the electromagnetic frequencies of the aurora borealis. The aurora borealis greatly affects the krill species and the microorganisms that those filterling whales feed on. Now, whales that feed above that, ones that actually eat fish or other things like that, they're about 175 years, though they too can become predators of other predator species and extend their life force by finishing contracts, because there are certain things that will enter the shark predator-prey network so they could eventually be predated on by something else, and it cures the karma of whatever happened in the previous lifetimes. And sometimes on a big scale.
Yeah, because like the sperm whales, they feed on the giant squid and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Or there's sperm whales that will eat sharks, too. Yeah.
And what are the differences between the dolphin song and the whale songs?
Microsurgery, macrosurgery. Here, let's use a voltage. A whale can use amperage to affect a wide area. A dolphin can use microvolts to alter the DNA of something that's working with. A whale can alter the light bodies and auric bodies of things thousands of miles away from it. A dolphin song can be encoded in such a way it can go directly from point A to point B and only be targeted to a single being encoded to receive its frequency. They're like the micro-macro antithesis opposite of each other. That's really the best way to describe them. But, again, culturally and spiritually, they are more interactive with the predator-prey species processes than whales are. Because they come in with, thousands of contracts to predate.
I really like that resolution of karma sort of thing between the ocean species. That's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Something will incarnate 10,000 times for one particular whale or dolphin to resolve karma.
Mm-hmm.
what are the most potentially amazing things that will take a very long time to work out for these two creatures and species of the sea that you could offer us? Because there's obviously a lot of they're very hard to sort of monitor and discover and stuff because they're incredible beings, and it might take a very long time for us to understand them. And what is it that you could tell us that would really...
Once we get out on the water with the intention of creating ocean communicators, they will be our teachers. They will become mass healers. They will become a part of our world, and new methods of voyaging under the water, on the surface of water, will be created to encourage ocean communications. To realize they're very much a part of sentient beings and have the same rights, rules, and responsibilities as everyone else. Their culture is different. We have to learn how to live with them. We have to make companions with them. May even have true love with one. Eh? Allow the DNA.
Have to show respect for their sacred space.
Right. So a dolphin in true love with any other being, where there have been many Akashic record perspectives where a dolphin fell in love with, say, a sperm whale. Okay? The two can't mate, but the dolphin can alter the DNA of its mate or alter its own DNA with its own song to just spontaneously become the species where they can mate together. So that's that other super DNA technology thing of dolphins is, you can become compatible. One or the other is going to change, and it's the agreement between the two. It's, who can survive the change the most.
I also know, like, from before I met you and stuff, that there's indigenous tribes around the world that have connections to dolphins, or dolphin sort of species. Like,
oh yeah,
the Dogons in Africa. So what you said about, certain ET sort of species that animate themselves into dolphin bodies because they can get away with some of the rules, is that the sort of connection that they had with the Dogons, or it was something else?
You could use the Dogon metaphor for that, yes. Or it could also relate to clans of dolphin species who made enough companionships with the coastal fishermen or the coastal shamans to create extended relationships.
Like, not just help farming the sea, like in a unified way to get equally, like the shaman fishermen help to catch fish, and the dolphins, they work together to sort of harvest.
Well, the shaman could speak to the dolphin, who would then chase schools of herring into shallow waters so they could be caught by the nets. And at the same time, that would bring in other bigger predators that the dolphins would attack. So the dolphin would chase the fish to the nets, but actually be in wait for the bigger predators to come by and attack and kill them and eat them.
Yeah, like the salmon.
Thin out the predator network, because the dolphin wanted to be the apex of the predator network in their area.
But yeah, like, obviously there's tribes that had relationships with it, like being along the sea and in the coast and on the islands. Mm. They had relationships with, like, the sentience of the creatures.
Uh-huh. Yes. They would have great relationships, medicine relationships, spiritual relationships, healing relationships, all sorts of things.
Yeah. Any particular areas of the world? Just to give us like a region to sort of reverse engineer if we want to.
the Caribbean, the Hawaiian Islands, the Gold Coast, Goa, India, South Africa, Brazil, the Pacific Coast, Japan, not necessarily China anymore, those areas.
Yeah, so I get the feeling the Caribbean area was a really amazing place before the like the Vatican pirates sort of explored there. It was obviously a very diverse area for life and that.
Yes. All right, have you ever seen the video of where an orcas whale attacks a great white shark and tries to flip it over? But as soon as you flip a shark over, it falls asleep. And these orcas have learned how to do it and have passed it on as a hunting technique.
No.
Let me find the video, just 1 second.
I think that's been 2 hours just on the whales and dolphins, mate.
Yeah.
So we can have a rest. Thanks for all that.
Yeah.
That's gone way.
You know what, Andre? Did you see the picture that I put in?
Yeah, I've got it here.
This picture that I just put in is actually of a dolphin being that came through the fire. And some of what I've experienced through dolphin beings is that they teach how to communicate telepathically.
Yep. Tutors. Yep.
Yeah, the sonar through the water and stuff. I know. It's structured geometry, like a mandala. Like that's the way I sort of see their language. It's like mandala, like symbolic sort of patterns. So like I had this funny analogy that like you know the most dedicated sort of humans like monks, you know, like Tibetan Buddhist monks that spend all their lifetime meditating and stuff, they start producing this amazing mandalas and stuff, and it takes them ages to do it. And like a dolphin might fart and it's got more like data and knowledge in a fart because it's structured in the water than the best of our best, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And what I found with the medicines of the dolphin is that it teaches you the difference between projections and being telepathic.
Okay.
And more than just telepathic in that it, how do I put it? Empathic, telepathic, as well as being able to transit the experience also. So it's an experiential transition also that the dolphin can do.
With intent focus.
With intent and focus, yes. So here is another video of killer whales deep under the water finding sharks and flipping them over on their backs deep under the water and making them go to sleep.
Yeah, I'm watching it at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, the second one, let me delete, that's the same one. That's
Isn't that... I mean, that's amazing, fascinating that say a shark would go on its back and that disenables it. Just something very simple like that. That's how fine-tuned they are, you know.
Yep. That's how fine-tuned they are, yep. Alrighty, ladies and gents, boys and girls, children of all ages.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
It's time.
Good day, mate.
Yes, it's time for me to
give me more work to do.
But you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I will. But get some rest, and I'll catch up with you guys soon, all right?
I'm going to turn on some music and just kind of let my mind chill to some music. Yeah.
It was awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right, take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.